My family mocked me as childless and rich. By the next morning, my college funds were gone. And that's when they realized the problem they were facing. My name's Jeanette. I'm from San Diego, and I make more money in a quarter than most of my family does in 5 years. I don't say that to brag. I say it because I know exactly how they see me. Not as generous. Not as the one who bailed out my brother during his divorce. Or the one who covered 3 semesters of my cousin's daughter's tuition when financial aid didn't come through. Not even as the one who quietly pays the property taxes on my mother's house every year. No, they see me as the one who thinks she's better than them. Because I don't have kids. Because I live in a glassy high-rise with a view of the bay. Because I don't ask them for anything. They don't say it to my face, not usually, but they think it. And last Saturday, one of them finally said it out loud. It was my grandmother's 90th birthday. The whole family was packed into her backyard in Sacramento. Tables covered with plastic tablecloths, kids weaving between legs with cake on their faces, someone's Bluetooth speaker playing a playlist that hadn't been updated since 2012. I flew in that morning straight from a pitch meeting in LA, first class, slept the whole flight. No one asked me about it. I'd been there maybe an hour. Made small talk, hugged people, complimented the coleslaw. I was sitting near the end of the table sipping lemonade when Madison, my brother's daughter, walked over and dropped the grenade. She thinks she's special because she's childless and rich, just like that. No lead up, no context. She said it to no one in particular, but loud enough for everyone to hear. And then she smiled like she just dropped the line of the day. My mom, sitting across from me, started laughing so hard she had to cover her mouth with a napkin. A few others joined in. I looked around. Not one person looked uncomfortable. Not one person said, maybe that was out of line. So, I stood up. I didn't say a word. I walked over to my grandmother, kissed her cheek, told her happy birthday, and left. No scene, no storming, just done. The next morning, I got up early, made coffee, opened my laptop, and logged into the college savings accounts. I'd set them up years ago, 5 in total, 1 for Madison, her younger sister, 2 other nieces, and my cousin's son. Every month, money went in automatically, quietly. No fanfare. They were all on track for 6 figures by the time the kids graduated high school. By 7:42 a.m., every account was empty. By 8:05, I had my first missed call. My brother, then my cousin, then my mother. Madison sent a text that just said, "Wait, what?" followed by 5 question marks. I didn't respond. I blocked her instead. Then I went for a walk, got a latte, and turned off my phone. No one had ever heard silence from me before. They were about to find out just how loud it could get. By Monday, my mother had left 4 voicemails, each one more frantic than the last. I didn't listen to any of them. I watched them transcribe on my screen like a slow-moving car crash. What happened to the college accounts, Jeanette? Call me back. Are you okay? You left grandma's early and now the money's gone. This is about Madison's joke, isn't it? Don't be ridiculous. You can't just punish the kids, Jeanette. That's low even for you. Even for me, that one stuck. Like I was the one who'd made things personal. I spent that afternoon on my balcony, phone off, glass of wine in hand. San Diego was cool and breezy, and the chaos felt far away. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the family wallet with a pulse. By Tuesday morning, the emails started. My cousin emailed first. Subject line, just want to talk. He wrote a paragraph about how grateful they were for my help over the years and how his son was counting on that money for college. He said he didn't agree with what Madison said and that kids say dumb things sometimes. He said they were all just joking. Then came my brother's email, longer. Defensive. He said Madison was a teenager and I'd overreacted. He told me he was struggling financially, that Madison was expecting to go to Oregon State next fall and now everything was up in the air. He threw in a line about how he always knew I'd pull something like this eventually. I didn't reply. Then something unexpected happened. That evening, my cousin's wife called. Not a text, not a voicemail, a real call. I let it ring out. Then she texted, "Hey, Jeanette, I know you're upset. I would be, too. I just want you to know that we appreciated everything you did, even if we didn't always say it. You didn't deserve that. I hope you'll come around eventually, but if not, I still wanted to say thank you." It was the first real thing anyone had said since the party. It wasn't groveling. It wasn't guilt-tripping. It sounded like honesty. I didn't respond, but I didn't block her either. By Wednesday, my grandmother called. Her voicemail was short. "Jeanette, I love you. So, that one I saved." Meanwhile, my brother started getting more desperate. He sent screenshots from Madison's college portal. He listed the tuition deadlines. He even asked if we could have a mature conversation. I couldn't help but laugh at that one because here's the thing. Until now, I wasn't angry. I was done. That's different. But suddenly with the money gone, everyone remembered who I was. Not just the one with the cash, the one they counted on. The one who never asked for thanks. The one who flew in, smiled politely, and never made a scene. That version of me didn't exist anymore. And they were just starting to realize it. By Thursday, I started getting messages that weren't really apologies, just dressed up excuses pretending to be one. That's the family way. Never say sorry without patting it in blame. My mom finally texted, "Your brother's a mess. Madison's crying. You know how teenagers are. This is all just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding." As if her laugh wasn't the loudest one. As if it was just some harmless comment and I'd somehow misinterpreted being mocked in front of 3 generations. Then she added, "Let's not let one comment ruin years of family." I didn't answer. What I wanted to say was, years of what? Years of me showing up quietly helping, swallowing every backhanded comment like it was part of the family ritual. Instead, I let her sit with the silence. That afternoon, Madison sent me a voice note. She didn't even write it out, just recorded herself crying. I didn't press play. I blocked her on email next. Then came something I wasn't expecting. My Uncle Gary called. We'd never been close. And he's the kind of guy who says grace at dinner with one hand while texting on his phone with the other. He left a voicemail, too. He said he'd heard what happened and that he'd never been comfortable with how the family talked about me behind my back. He said he always told his kids I was the one they should be looking up to, that I'd done things on my own terms and maybe that's what made them so bitter. Then he said something that stuck. Sometimes people don't appreciate a bridge until they've burned it. He hung up after that. Didn't ask me to call back. I played that voicemail 3 times, not because I believed him entirely. Gary isn't exactly known for his moral backbone, but because it confirmed something I hadn't fully admitted to myself. This wasn't just about one comment from Madison. This had been building for years. I started remembering things like when I paid for my mom's roof repair and she told everyone the bank helped her out. Or when I flew Madison and her sister to Disneyland 2 summers ago and they told their friends their dad surprised them. Or the time my cousin needed a lawyer and I covered the retainer and they said they figured it out somehow. I wasn't just excluded. I was invisible. But now, suddenly, stripped of their safety nets, I was the only one they could see. I thought maybe the quiet would be enough. I was wrong. By Friday, the panic turned into strategy, and they started trying a new approach, pretending to care. Friday night, I came home to flowers at my door. No note, no signature, just a slick, overpriced bouquet that screamed guilty money. I didn't even bring it inside. Left it on the floor of the hallway and stepped over it. That night around 10 p.m., I got a notification from Venmo. My brother sent me $50 with the caption for coffee. Sorry about last weekend. I stared at it for a while. It was so weird it made me laugh. $50 from the man whose daughter called me a walking ATM. A man I had personally bailed out of debt when he defaulted on his car loan 3 years ago. I declined it. 2 hours later, I got a DM on LinkedIn from someone named Rachel Haynes. I didn't recognize the name at first, but the message gave it away. "Hi Jeanette, I'm Madison's college counselor. I was hoping we could chat. She's deeply upset about everything that's happened and mentioned that you're a key part of her college plans. Would love a moment of your time." I sat there rereading it, trying to process what I was actually looking at. They gave my name to her school counselor and not just gave it. Madison told this woman I was responsible for her education and now they were hoping I'd explain why it suddenly dropped off. I didn't respond, but I did click on Rachel's profile. Under education, I saw UC Davis. That made me smile for a second. I donated to their Women in STEM program 2 years ago. Quietly, of course. The next morning, it got stranger. I got an email from an old family friend, someone I hadn't talked to in years, asking if everything was okay. She said my mom had told her I was going through a lot emotionally and to keep me in her prayers. So, now I was being painted as unstable, and I realized they weren't just panicking. They were trying to spin the narrative before I could. They thought if they looked worried enough, said the right things to the right people, they could frame this as me having some kind of breakdown. That way, if the family support dried up, it wouldn't be about them. It'd be poor Jeanette, so sad, so lost, so emotional. They weren't just trying to fix things anymore. They were trying to control the story. That's when I decided to flip the script. I didn't block my brother. I didn't respond either. I let it sit. Then I posted something, not on Facebook where they expected me to, on LinkedIn where I knew they'd never go looking. Just a short update. Excited to be redirecting some of my resources toward new scholarship projects for first-generation college students. Grateful for the opportunity to support those who truly value education, gratitude, and personal growth. 10 minutes later, I got a text from my cousin's wife. "Are you starting a scholarship fund?" I didn't answer. That afternoon, I donated $20,000 to a local program that helps single mothers go back to school. I sent them a message with the donation. "This is in honor of every woman who got told she wasn't enough without a husband or a child. Use it well." Now, the silence wasn't mine anymore. It was theirs. The following week was quiet in the most satisfying way. No texts, no calls, just radio silence from a family that had finally run out of angles. Then out of nowhere, my cousin Michelle showed up in San Diego. She didn't tell me she was coming, just sent a text that said, "In town. Can we talk?" I ignored it. She texted again an hour later. "I'm downstairs, not here to fight. Just want to see you." I looked out my window and there she was, standing by the coffee shop across the street, holding her phone in both hands like she wasn't sure what to do with them. I almost laughed. Michelle hadn't made time to visit me once in 5 years. I'd flown up to Sacramento at least a dozen times. She was always too busy to come down. I didn't go outside. I let her stand there until she gave up and walked away. That night, she sent one last message. "I get it now. I really do. We've been awful. Not just Madison. All of us. I think we all just got so used to you being the one who gave without asking. We stopped seeing you as a person. I'm sorry." So, I didn't reply. And then something happened that made my chest tighten. My grandma sent me a letter, handwritten, no stamps. Someone had clearly dropped it off. Just one sheet of paper folded in 3. "Jeanette, your presence was missed this week. Your absence is louder than your silence. I don't know what they did. I know what they're capable of, and I know what you've given to this family. I also know what it's like to be the strong one who finally says enough. I love you and I understand, Grandma." I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I just folded it back up and placed it in the drawer with the other things I've saved over the years that no one knows I've kept. 3 days later, I got an email from the local women's college I donated to. They invited me to speak at a spring panel. They said they loved what I'd written about education, growth, and gratitude. They wanted me to tell my story. I agreed. The same day, I got another Venmo from my brother. This one was for $1. Caption: "Please don't shut me out forever." I was wrong. I didn't decline it this time. I let it sit there. A digital reminder of what it took to get them to see me at all. It had only been a week since that backyard comment, but everything had shifted. They used to treat me like a bonus feature. Now they looked at me like I was the foundation, and they finally noticed what it felt like when it cracked. I hadn't cut them off because I hated them. I cut them off because I was done feeding people who bit the hand and then laughed about it in front of the table. And they knew now I wasn't coming back the same way. It happened a week after Michelle stood on my street and left with nothing. I got an invitation in the mail. Not a text, not an email, a real envelope, thick paper, my name written in careful script. Inside was a card. "We're having a dinner. Just us. No kids, no noise, just family. We'd like to talk. Sunday, 6 p.m. Grandma's." No signatures, no guilt tripping, just the ask. I set it on my counter and left it there for 3 days. Didn't say yes, didn't say no. I wanted to see if they'd follow up. They didn't. Sunday came. I put on a plain black dress, nothing flashy. Drove up, parked 2 blocks away, took my time walking. The second I stepped into Grandma's house, I knew something was different. The usual chaos was gone. No casserole pans, no screaming kids, no blaring music. Just my mother, my brother, Michelle, and Grandma at the table. Plates were set. Water, not wine. No one was smiling. I didn't sit right away, just stood there waiting. My brother was the first to speak. He said he was sorry, that he should have said something at the party, that he laughed because he thought it would blow over like everything else. That he was used to me being the one who swallowed things. My mother went next. She admitted she'd laughed because it was easier than confronting what Madison said. She said she thought I'd always forgive her no matter what. That she never realized I might not. Michelle said she realized too late that the money wasn't the gift. I was. And then she said it. "You were never trying to be special. You were just trying to be seen." I finally sat down. We talked for 2 hours. No drama, no tears, just raw honesty that had been missing for decades. Grandma didn't say much, but when everyone else was quiet, she looked at me and said, "They've changed, but so have you." And she was right. They didn't ask me to turn the accounts back on. No one begged for a second chance financially. They knew better. What they wanted wasn't money, it was me. But they didn't get the old version, the quiet giver, the background checkbook. That Jeanette was gone. They'd spent years thinking I had everything because I had money and freedom. But all I ever wanted was to be treated like more than a resource. That night, I left with nothing in my hands. No leftovers, no guilt, no secret pressure to fix anything. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel used. Hurt. And they finally understood what it cost to lose someone who never asked for much except respect. I didn't forgive them that night. I let them speak. I listened and I left. No dramatic hugs, no declarations of a fresh start. Just a calm, clean exit. That was new for all of us. By Monday, the group text lit up again. The group chat started buzzing again by Monday, but it wasn't the same old chatter. Gone were the endless memes, the casual birthday shout-outs, or the random family updates that used to fill the screen. Instead, the messages were simple and subdued, things like, "Thanks for coming over, Jeanette. That dinner really meant a lot to us. We're all trying to do better now." I read them, but I didn't type back a single word. There was something they hadn't fully grasped yet, even after all that had happened. A sincere apology, no matter how heartfelt, doesn't magically erase the past or restore everything to how it was before. This wasn't some casual board game where you could shake the pieces, start over, and pretend the previous roles never counted. Certain kinds of damage linger permanently. It doesn't vanish, it simply weaves itself into the very foundation of things, becoming a part of who we are and how we relate to each other moving forward. By the end of that week, on Friday, my mother reached out again with a phone call. She left a voicemail that caught me off guard in the best way. It felt genuine and reflective. In it, she said, "I sat down and talked with Madison. She's truly embarrassed about what happened. She told me she doesn't even understand why those words came out of her mouth that day." My mom continued, explaining how she'd encouraged Madison to do something thoughtful. "I told her to write you a proper letter, Jeanette, not to try and fix anything or win you back, but simply because that's what decent, accountable people do when they've hurt someone." There was a long pause on the recording, and then she added something that showed real self-awareness. "I know I didn't raise her to be intentionally cruel, but I also have to admit that I didn't teach her properly about what true generosity means or how to recognize it in others. That's my failure, and it's on me." I listened to it a couple of times before saving it alongside the others that had meant something real. Just a few days after that, an email popped up from Madison herself. It wasn't long or overly emotional, no big dramatic pleas or performative tears. She kept it straightforward and honest. "I said something awful that day. There's no way to take it back or undo the hurt. You've always been there for us in so many ways, and I never once stopped to say thank you properly. I don't expect forgiveness from you, but I needed to tell you this anyway. You deserved so much better than that." I stared at the screen for a while, then closed it without replying. But unlike some of the earlier messages, I didn't hit delete. I let it stay there in my inbox, a quiet acknowledgement that words like those carried weight. Life with the family didn't snap back to its old rhythms, the ones where everything felt predictable and taken for granted. Instead, changes happened gradually, almost imperceptibly at first, like a slow shift in the tide. Michelle, for instance, began reaching out once a week with nothing more than a simple check-in, a quick "hey, just saying hi and thinking of you" kind of message, no requests attached. My brother, who used to slip in casual asks for help without thinking twice, completely stopped that habit. He kept things light and neutral whenever our paths crossed digitally. And my mom shared one day that she'd started volunteering regularly at a local women's shelter. She explained it to me in a calm voice during one of our brief calls. "I've realized I need to put more energy into giving back to people who aren't expecting it from me, who don't assume it's just part of family duty." It sounded like she was learning something profound about reciprocity and kindness without strings. As for me, I maintained a careful distance, not out of bitterness, but from a place of newfound clarity. I'd become more reserved, cooler in my interactions. Not cold or unkind, just boundaries that were firm and unmistakable. I never reopened those college funds or offered to step in financially again. Visits didn't become more frequent. I didn't fly up north unless it truly felt right in the moment. Money stayed off the table entirely. No loans, no gifts, no quiet bailouts. What I did choose to give was my time and presence, but only when I decided it made sense for me. No more automatic showing up out of obligation. And over the months that followed, I noticed how they started responding to that shift. They treated my occasional involvement like something precious, something to appreciate deeply rather than assume would always be there, something earned through effort and respect rather than owed by blood. In the end, they'd come to understand the deeper truth behind my silence and withdrawal. It wasn't rooted in pure anger or a desire to punish forever. No, I had pulled back because I'd finally seen clearly, the only path to making them truly value me as a whole person, not just as a resource or a safety net, was to let them experience life without that constant, unspoken reliance on me. And now, having felt that absence firsthand, they finally knew exactly what it was like.